Billionaire returned home early and was stunned by what he saw. The mansion was quiet as the gates swung open, the billionaire's car rolling down the drive long before anyone expected him. He had cut his trip short, eager for silence after weeks of endless meetings. But as he stepped inside, suitcase in hand, the silence wasn't what greeted him. Laughter echoed from the grand hall. Soft, unfamiliar voices. He frowned, setting the case down and moving quietly across the marble floor. Through the archway, his eyes widened. His dining table, long, carved and usually empty, was crowded with children. Their clothes were patched, their hair messy, but their faces glowed as they tore into plates of food. At the head of the table stood his housekeeper, ladling soup with a warmth he'd never seen her show before. The billionaire froze, unseen. Strangers were feasting at his table, crumbs scattered on his silk runner, small hands reaching for more bread. Yet what stunned him wasn't the intrusion. It was the sound, pure laughter filling a house he had always known as cold and hollow. One of the children looked up, eyes bright. "Do you think he'll be mad when he comes back?" The housekeeper smiled faintly, glancing at the empty chair where the billionaire usually sat. "Maybe. Or maybe he'll remember what a home is supposed to feel like." His chest tightened, the suitcase slipping from his grip. For the first time, he realized what had been missing in the house of glass and gold he had built: life. And as he stood frozen at the doorway, he knew nothing about this night or his heart would remain the same. The children noticed him first, forks pausing mid-air, eyes wide with fear. One by one, they slid off their chairs, ready to run, but the housekeeper lifted her hand gently. "Stay," she said, her voice steady. The billionaire stepped forward, his polished shoes echoing against the marble. His gaze swept the table, crumbs scattered, soup stains on the cloth, mismatched little shoes dangling from chairs far too big for them. Chaos, disorder, everything he usually despised. But then his eyes landed on a boy no older than 7, holding a piece of bread out to the smallest girl beside him.
"Here," the boy whispered. "You can have mine." The billionaire's breath caught.
For all the millions he had spent hosting galas, investors' dinners, and political banquets, he had never seen such a simple act of generosity in this room. He turned to the housekeeper, his voice low. "What is this?" She met his eyes without flinching. "Children from the shelter. They had nowhere to go tonight."
"I couldn't watch them starve." His jaw tightened, but no words came.
He looked again at the children, their faces flushed from warmth and food, their laughter echoing faintly even through their nervous silence. Something in him cracked, something he hadn't felt in years. Finally, he pulled out the head chair and sat down. The children froze, unsure. He picked up a spoon, dipped it into the soup, and tasted it slowly. Then he set it down and nodded.
"It's good!" Gasps rippled around the table.
The housekeeper's lips parted in shock. And then, tentatively, the children sat again, the room filling once more with the sound of clinking spoons and quiet giggles. The billionaire leaned back, his gaze softening as he watched them eat. For the first time in his life, he wasn't stunned by the wealth on his table, but by the life it had finally welcomed in. As the meal went on, the billionaire found himself studying each child more than the food before him. A girl with braids hummed quietly as she ate, as though the warmth in her stomach unlocked a song she'd kept buried. A boy with torn sleeves shoveled soup fast, pausing only when another child nudged him to slow down. And the smallest one, still clutching her bread, leaned her head against the housekeeper's arm, eyelids drooping in comfort she hadn't known in too long. The billionaire's throat tightened. He had filled this hall with chandeliers and art worth millions, yet never once had it held this kind of beauty. Finally he cleared his throat, his voice unfamiliar even to himself. "Do you all have a place to sleep tonight?" The children exchanged glances, silent. The housekeeper lowered her eyes. They'll go back to the shelter, if there's space. He looked around the vast hall, the endless empty rooms echoing in his mind. Slowly, he set his spoon down.
Not anymore.
From tonight, this is their home. The words seemed to hang in the air, too heavy, too unbelievable. The children froze, their eyes wide. One whispered, "Oh, for real?" The billionaire leaned forward, his gaze steady. "For real?"
No more alleys. No more hunger. As long as these doors stand, they stand open for you. Tears brimmed in the housekeeper's eyes as the children erupted, some crying, some laughing, some too stunned to move.
One by one, they left their chairs, rushing toward him, their small arms wrapping around his tailored suit. For years, his mansion had been silent, a monument to wealth. Tonight, it became something more. It became alive. And in that moment, the billionaire realized he hadn't just returned home early, he had returned to what home was meant to be.